Good morning. We're
Good
live.
morning. Hello, how are you?
I'm great. I see you're out and about today. I'm sure eagerly looking at properties and all that exciting stuff. I have to
I
start
am.
before.
I'm out in Hancock Park this morning, which is actually a fantastic place for those of you that don't know it. It's a beautiful community, a little inland from the west side where a lot of us normally work. Uh, Very big old houses that were built turn of the century. I'm at a beautiful school called Marlboro, which is a school for girls in the center of the city, and it's a really wonderful location. So here I am out today.
I'm going to start off quickly with a funny, not exactly a joke. I actually went out last night with my wife and we saw Date Night. And there was a line in there that I think you'll appreciate, and probably a lot of people watching will appreciate. One of the stars is Tina Fey. She's a real estate agent. And so she's showing this property, and it's this gorgeous mansion. And she says, yes, it used to be listed and sold for, 1.8 million, and right now it's down to, 325,000. And the, prospective buyers look at it, and they look at each other, and they say, yeah, we think it's going to come down a little bit more. We're going to wait. And she says, good thinking. And I think people in Southern California can probably appreciate the sick humor in that more than anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. So the market has changed a lot. How are things in your neck of the woods, and how are things with your business?
Things are going well. I thought what I would go over a little bit today is something that's changed recently, which is for people that are purchasing condominiums. In the past, it would always be advisable for people that are purchasing condominiums to purchase insurance for their personal belongings, obviously for liability, and
Right.
for the improvements to the inside of the unit. And what's happened recently are banks have started requiring this. So people are actually purchasing condominiums in the 11th hour. They're being told, well, you need to have insurance now. Whereas in the past, they assumed that they would be covered as long as the building, the HOA, the homeowners association, had insurance. Now it's actually required that they have an individual policy with a certain amount of coverage for the inside of the unit, for the tenant improvements, the floors, the cabinets, the walls, the inside of the structure. They're requiring coverage on now. So a lot of buyers are getting sort of surprised at that last minute because they're finding that they actually do have to get a policy for those things.
Now, just to be clear, you are not talking about the coverage on personal belongings such as jewelry, furniture, etc. You're talking about the actual interior structure of the unit, which was something we didn't see before.
Exactly. Well, the condominium owners' policies come as a package, and so you will have coverage that's afforded for things like their personal property, their furniture, and their jewelry, as well as the inside, the inside coverage that the lenders are requiring. You don't really purchase one without the other; they come as a package. But you're absolutely right. It was never a requirement of the lender. More so, what they're doing is they're not just saying we need to have proof that you have coverage for the inside of the unit. They're actually requiring a certain percentage of the purchase price. So, for example, I'll get a request from an escrow that says, all right, we're looking to get in, they're calling it interior coverage. It's sort of getting its own sort of lingo. And they're giving me a dollar amount. And I'm being told that that dollar amount is determined based on the purchase price of the condominium.
That's really, really interesting. That is new news for us.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think that means for the buyer in the long term? Is this an additional expense for them, and is this something they should be budgeting in, or is the cost minimal for them?
Well, yes and yes. It's something they should have always been budgeting in. And again, most people know when they buy a condominium, they still need to get insurance for their personal belongings and for the upgrades and the things inside the unit, as well as liability and coverage for damage by water and things of that nature. So it's not really a new expense. I think what they're finding is that they're sort of being instead of being told this is a good idea, you should be talking to someone and getting a proposal, now they're being told you need to have this, period, the end. As far as what to budget for, depending on the size of the unit, the amount of coverage they're looking to get, a ballpark average premium that you could be looking at for, a 1,500 square foot, condominium owner's unit, something along those lines, might be somewhere between $300 to $500. So we're not looking at, massive costs. But again, when you're not expecting it, and people tend to, it's human nature, you don't like to be forced to have to get things. And because this is something new, People aren't used to it. They're not used to being told this is the type of coverage they need to have. They're a little bit resistive, of getting it. But again, this is something we've been talking about and we've been offering to clients, forever.
Now, quick question for you, and I hope this is not a silly one, but as we go up the ladder to the more luxury condominiums with the high-end fit and finish, does the premium commensurately jump up, or is it across the board just based on square footage, strictly that, or does it take into account what kinds of upgrades are in there?
It's not a silly question at all. It's not uncommon for us to see some of these luxurious condominiums in the Wilshire corridor, for example, that are
Sure.
getting, $150,000, $250,000 in coverage for the inside of the unit, which is not exorbitant at all when you're talking about the granite and the marble and the Saltillo tiles and all of these fancy things that they do on the inside. Again,
Yeah.
the condominium policy, the HOA policy, typically will basically rebuild a box for you. The four walls, the ceiling, and the ground, and that's it. And it's up to your individual policy to do everything from there. And that's, a lot of people aren't aware of that. And I think the lenders have sort of gotten wise to the fact that, hey, we've got an exposure there because our collateral basically is this unit, and all we really have coverage for through the HOA is an empty box. So I think that's one of the reasons they're starting to mandate this, is they've gotten wise to the fact that they have this exposure out there. But cost-wise, policy like that might be $800, $900. Proportionately, it's still going to be less expensive than purchasing, for a similarly furnished homeowner's policy. It's still going to cost more because, again, you're talking about a full structure versus the interior of a unit and personal property.
Well, this has been a really helpful pocket of information, and if you don't mind, besides posting this, as we always do, as you all know, you can find this online, but I'm going to write about this in my blog because I think this is really important for condominium owners to start thinking about, and for those who didn't have this policy going in, maybe it's time, as we've talked about before, to do an upgrade with their insurance company. They should call you and have you look at what their policy is. And remember, too, as they do upgrades on their own to their individual units, it's time to upgrade their policy to take into account those new upgrades. Put in new appliances, put in granite countertops, redo the bathrooms. It's time to go ahead and take a look at your insurance for those items because you don't want to not be covered in the event of a real disaster.
Exactly. Well, I'm obviously happy to review any of those things, but people should, again, even if they haven't done upgrades, they should be aware that if they don't have a policy, they don't have coverage for those things, regardless of if they paid to upgrade, those fixtures or not. We're actually getting a little bit of a connection stumbling on you, I think probably because you're wireless over there. Maybe one of those students is downloading a movie. So I think we'll go ahead and we'll wrap it up for today. And if you have any questions you want to ask me offline for your blog post, feel free to give me a call. And anyone else out there, if you have questions about this or you want to get some rough ideas, feel free to get in touch with me as well. All right. I guess we'll go from there.